Welcome to ROQ Shop Talk. Our show talks best practices, fun anecdotes, and the latest cutting-edge technology in our field to kick your screen printing gears into hyperdrive. Today's episode continues our discussion on the chemistry in screen printing. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be right back.
I want to welcome everybody back to ROQ Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. Today, we are discussing the chemistry in screen printing, and we are joined by Alex Mammoser. No,
that's it.
Mammoser.
No, you got it.
Mammoser. I got it. Mammoser of Easiway Systems. I'm ROQ US President Ross Hunter. Alongside of us today is our creative producer, Mr. Merrill Caps. Hello. As well as our channel manager, Mr. Brian Richards. How's everyone doing today?
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Happy to be here. I'm here representing.
Representing the street, man. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Indeed.
And Alex has got like an epic bar behind him right now that we were talking about before the show. So we're hoping he'll show us his bartending skills, maybe some bar flair somewhere in the episode. That would be really awesome. Wanted to start out today's episode, just give a quick update on what is happening in the world of ROQ US. We are launching our first ever tour of the United States with our tour bus, Roxy. It has a name. For those of you that forgot, her name is Roxy. Yeah. Totally makes sense. We're doing an 8-week video tour. We're starting up in Chicago, going down the East Coast into Florida, cutting across the South into Texas, going up into Denver, and then going up back to the Northwest. We're visiting probably 15 or so states, at least 20-ish or so different businesses. Going to get some great content that we'll be able to put out there. A lot of good education coming everyone's way. As well as just a cool preview of a lot of our different partners that are out there, printing away and doing some amazing things in business. So really
follow hashtag ROQ Tour and see where she might end up being next.
Absolutely. And just a precursor to those of you listening, we are taking some major COVID precautions in doing this. Yes, the tour bus was the first one of those, so we're not on airplanes going in and out of cities, but we are sticking to some pretty extreme protocol with temperature taking, hand sanitizing, mask wearing,
testing,
as well as testing along the way as we're going from business to business. So we are being incredibly sensitive to the time in which we live in, but definitely excited to get out on the road and see some people. And it's going to be awesome. Very, very excited. So stay tuned on that. We'll probably have some updates on our website as well as our social. If you're not following us, follow us on all of your platforms at ROQ US. Boom. That's my spiel on the update.
That was excellent. We're updated.
Good.
Yeah.
We're updated.
Yeah.
Oh, we also we have one more update. We've got a couple articles out right now. We've got the spread in Screen Printing Magazine. Mm-hmm. So go check that out, screenprintingmag.com. If you're not registered to receive their publication, it's a digital publication. It comes out once every 2 months. We've got a great two-page spread there with a lot of good information, specifically surrounding the Lotus. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today with chemistry and how you can better affect the environment in your business, the people that work within it, and save a lot of money by automating your screen reclamation. So check that out. A lot of good information there. And stay tuned. We've got some other articles going out in a few other trade magazines in the next couple months. So we've got a lot of good news going on. Excited to share it with everyone.
Nice.
That's the update. All right, let's jump in. I want to thank Alex for being here today from Easiway and give you an opportunity, Alex, just to tell everyone about your journey in the industry, how it led you to Easiway, and how the company's evolved over the last 4 decades.
Yeah, it's been some time.
That could take some time.
Yeah. Me personally started about, 15, 17 years ago or so. my father-in-law and I started a screen print shop together. I went to school for criminal justice and decided it wasn't for me. So
there's a Venn diagram there.
Yes.
Criminal justice and screen printing.
I mean, so I never even did anything with it, to be honest. I got done with it and I was like, this is just not me. It's not who I am.
You're like, I can do crime on my own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then so we started a little DTG shop, screen print shop. We had one of the original, we had number 6 of the DTG kiosk 2s from Mastermind over in Japan. They were distributed by Coldesi down in Florida in our shop. We bought it at that ISS Schaumburg show years ago. And, that led us to screen printing because we realized DTG really couldn't do everything at the time, especially 15 years ago. I mean, we're talking, infancy at that point.
Wow.
And, that shop was only half a mile from Big Blue because that's where I used to live. And so over the years, Mr. Hoffman came down back and forth and eventually convinced me to come to work for him. And that led me to working in the digital department there, developing that CTS unit. I was there for 11 years and we parted our ways, and I've been with Easiway for 4 years now. Started with international sales at Easiway because that's kind of how I left my end of the career at M&R, and then became the director of sales about 3 years ago, and we're headed forward.
It's awesome, man. What a journey.
Yeah.
It's one of those too. Once you get in this industry, it's just impossible to ever leave it, right? My story is very similar to yours, actually. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we've been collaborating a lot with Lotus Holland over the past several weeks, through a lot of what we've been doing internally in terms of, marketing efforts, getting the information out there, showing people the ROI, talking about the chemistry. How have your customers responded to or benefited from working with Lotus Holland? Because we've kind of just started really working together.
Yeah.
What was it? Probably 2-3 months ago, really actively. And it's been going great. And,
awesome.
and you guys have been in some businesses and brought your chemistry in. So what's the reaction been to those new relationships and machines?
I mean, it's been really fun for us because a lot of the customers are generally new Easiway customers. We work with a lot of, manufacturers, right? And we specialize in chemistry. So when we work with, you guys, selling the Lotus or other reclaim machines, that's, it's fun for us to be able to make our chemicals, which is what we specialize in, work efficiently in a lot of these reclaim machines. And I think where the customers see the benefit is how efficient our chemicals are in a lot of those machines. We've designed some specific chemistries for auto reclaim. And, that's where a lot of our specialty lies over the last 5 years.
That's awesome. How has that evolved over time? So, I mean, auto reclamation, when I got into the industry, was maybe it existed, but if it did, it was really expensive because it was at the, kind of beginning phases, kind of like when you bought your first digital machine, right? I mean, it was
totally,
tough technology at the time. And obviously since then, it's come an extremely long way in terms of the size of the machines, the capability, the output. So how has chemistry kind of evolved, with that?
Well, a lot of it started, honestly, like the industrial and the graphics market did auto reclaim long before textile guys adopted it. And that's, we started in the industrial and graphics market. So, on your previous podcast, Friends was saying, how he kind of started in that industrial graphics market too. That's where the machine started for those large format screens because they're so difficult to flip around. I mean, just think of how many people you need to actually flip a 15-foot screen. So a lot of that started there. And that's how we got into it. And then over the years, the rise in labor costs and everything else are seeing textile guys start to adopt that. And our chemistry has changed a little bit over the years to adapt to the textile inks versus, the UV and solvent inks that we see in some of those larger format shops.
Absolutely. Have you guys done a lot of evolution too in creating more, I guess, user-friendly green? I call them green. We always call, that's better for the environment, better for the people using it. Has that evolution kind of played into it?
Yeah, I think that's come naturally for us over the years. We're never we don't do a lot of the really harsh chemicals in this industry. Like we won't sell spray out fluid or anything like that because a lot of those chemicals are they're really unhealthy for the people that use them. So we try to stay on the really green and user friendly side of the industry. And I think that's where we've got a lot of our success as well, because I don't know if you follow all these groups online, but a lot of people tend to flock towards us because we do specialize in that side. And with that comes efficiencies and other aspects too. We created the dip tank roughly 25 years ago or so.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. It's obviously there's many iterations of it over the years, right? It's no longer new or revolutionary, but I think it's still very applicable to a lot of the smaller shops that are out there and how efficiently you can reclaim a screen with one of them.
Absolutely. It's crazy what designing just a little trough, right? Will
unbelievable.
Do for someone.
Yeah, it's really, truly crazy.
That's awesome. Well, cool. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come right back, we will continue our conversation on chemistry and how it affects your screen printing business. We will be right back.
Limited on space and budget? Are you a team of one? Need a supporting press to automate those simple prints without the bottleneck? The ROQ Fit fits seamlessly into your workflow and shifts your production to fifth gear's cruise control without breaking a sweat. To discover where automation fits in your business today, please visit roq.us or call 187-ROCKET now. That's 877-674-8669.
I want to welcome everybody back to Rock Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. Today, we are discussing the chemistry in screen printing, and we are joined by Alex Mammoser of Easiway Systems. I'm ROQ US President Ross Hunter. Alongside of me here today is our creative producer, Mr. Merrill Caps, as well as our channel manager, Mr. Brian Richards. Welcome back, everyone.
Hello.
So on the break, Alex, you're talking about some of your travels, and which is pretty awesome. And kind of where you saw Lotus years ago. Can you elaborate a little bit so our viewers know what we were talking about there?
Sure. I was pretty fortunate in this industry to be able to travel to quite a few countries over my career. And I saw the Lotuses originally in Germany, probably, it's gotta be 12, 15 years ago or so. And, I kept wondering why they weren't in the States and why I didn't see them predominantly in the States, because they're such a small, compact unit and they do what they do so well in such a small space that it only made sense. And then, obviously here we are 10 years later with you guys bringing them in about 4 or 5 years ago, starting to, and they really seem to be getting some traction now. It's pretty cool to see.
That's awesome. Yeah. We'll have to ask friends why it took him so long to come across the pond here and bring his equipment, because the size, I think, is the biggest thing that is appealing with the Lotus. There's a lot of appealing things with it, but the fact that you can actually fit it inside a dark room and a reasonable size dark room.
Even know that it's in there,
especially in metro markets, man. Square feet is huge in some of these city printer markets. So having big equipment's really tough.
Absolutely. I'll turn it over to Brian.
Awesome. Appreciate it. So Alex, I wanted to know, it's been super great working with you and Alan over there at Easiway the last couple months on the Lotus Holland equipment. And, it's a little bit different, for you guys working with us, a new vendor, ROQ company that makes green equipment. And I know that Easiway, works a lot with customers and distributors that offer another type of equipment. Maybe a blue kind of equipment.
That's true.
What's your favorite color?
Orange. Orange.
Play nice, kids. Play nice.
That's a great answer. Fantastic. Very political.
I wanted to know, how has that dynamic been? You're kind of working with, shops that, maybe wouldn't ever think that, Brian Richards at ROQ US would be on the phone with them. And it's been great. I've worked with a handful of, customers that wouldn't be our traditional customer, but they're the right segment customer for Lotus Holland, interestingly enough. So
correct.
can you speak at all to that dynamic?
Well, I mean, I think, our distribution channels are pretty vast, to be honest. We have a lot of our largest distributors actually don't even really sell equipment right now. We have a bunch all over the country that are not machine distributors. They are just consumable distributors as well. So that, there's a whole bunch of those, but you're right. I mean, the largest distributors right now out there, the big three, are all blue distributors, right? And some of that channel doesn't, some of those don't play traditionally together, but the Lotus really doesn't directly affect the printing equipment side of it, I guess. So it's kind of a piece that can fit in any shop, no matter what color you are.
Everybody's got to clean screens.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and it fits it. I think it fits a different market than some of the other machines that are out there that are available. I mean, there's a lot of manufacturers of reclaim equipment out there. Some of them do a better job getting their names out there than others. I think you guys have done a phenomenal job with the Lotus. I mean, it was essentially unknown in this country for friends before you guys really brought it up into the textile market. So I'm sure it's a phenomenal partnership for you guys.
What do you see as those main differences? So what is appealing? I mean, you've been into some of these shops, clearly you've been around all this equipment for a long time. So what are you hearing from people just in terms of that appeal?
Well, I mean, to me, size is number one. It's absolutely critical on the size. Obviously, value is another one, right? Some of the other equipment costs substantially more than what the Lotus costs. And, it's a difficult sell when you're doing 30 to 100 screens a day, right? I mean, it's a hard sell to purchase a piece of equipment. I mean, some of your competitors start at 80, 90,000 and they go all the way up through $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 for some of these pieces of reclaim equipment. And but the Lotus isn't going to do 500 screens a shift either, right? So some people look at that equipment as well. I just think the market segment that the Lotus fits in is vast compared to some of the other equipment out there. It's addressing a portion this large
much
rather
bigger,
than this large.
Gotcha. So in terms of people like getting into it, what is that ideal client? So when you guys think about it from a chemistry standpoint, obviously you guys are going into manual shops.
Yep,
I mean,
100%.
to distribute Easiway, right? So at what point are you guys having a conversation with those consumers on really starting to think about automating that part of their process and how that is going to change, what they're able to do from a chemistry standpoint. And then also there's clear ROI, right, on labor.
Yep. I think, the labor is going to be the biggest part, right? You can touch on that 1,000 times. It's basically on any automation, right? From a press to a coder to CTS to any of these, right? I mean, labor is huge, especially with how it's shifting in a lot of the states right now. It's some of the states on the East and the West Coast are moving up quite a bit quicker than in the Midwest. But as far as chemistry goes, when you start to say, I believe somewhere in the 40, 50 screener range per day, that's probably where automation is going to start to make really good sense on the level of the Lotus in a solid ROI. Because you're not washing stuff down the drain anymore, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the chemistry recirculates. So you have a huge cost savings in these automated machines in that.
Awesome. See that? Wow.
Wanted to know, we were checking out the website, and you guys have some pretty big numbers on there. 26 million screens cleaned, $34 million saved, 24,000 printers using Easiway. In 2016, it might be a little dated. Wanted to know, how do you calculate that? And are the numbers higher now?
I'm sure they are higher now. It's always a rough estimate to calculate, right? But you do it on how many dip tanks we've sold, and that number is probably so much larger than you actually believe it to be. It's somewhere in the 12 to 15,000 tanks range right now that we can imagine. Wow. And that doesn't count all of the competitors' tanks that we've, put chemistry into, and everything else, or people that built their own, it's just astronomical. And that's, all for the textile manual market. Then, we started originally in the graphics and industrial market. So we still have a lot of those legacy customers that haven't fully converted to digital over there. And then, everyone that just wants to spray chemical as well. We have a lot of people that still want to use that method. So when you add it all up, it's a scary big number.
I'm going to backtrack for a minute. You just said there's lots of people that still want to spray chemicals.
Yeah.
Elaborate, please.
It's we all do our best to educate people in what we believe will be the most efficient, the most green, and the best for your shop. But some people don't want to change. They believe their method is the best. So we do have chemistry that will support those environments as well. I mean, I'm not gonna sell anything that's harsh or bad for the environment, really. But at the end of the day, there's stuff that is applicable to them and they want to do it that way. So we'll sell chemistry to them as well.
So that's cool. So you guys,
100%. You guys will sell it and support them. It's just, I'm always curious, like that mindset of, not changing. And we hear that a lot in this industry, right? You've got a lot of players from printing technique to cleaning technique to pricing 100%. That have literally done the same thing for 25 years. So when you guys are going in and consulting with your chemistry, are you trying to shift that conversation? I mean, how does that go?
Yeah, a lot of it doesn't, everyone starts on a price per gallon ratio and we don't. We start on a price per screen ratio because it's a much easier calculation to help someone look at price per screen because not everyone's products are 1-to-1, right? So my screen wash might be X and my emulsion remover might be X, but when you add it together in the process that we sell it in, this is what the actual screen cost is because the screen cost factors in the labor and everything else. And that's what we're looking at. Because if I can take a 4-step process and move it down to a 2-step process, or if I can take a 4-step process and move it into an automated machine, all of those things have some sort of return on them. And that's how we try to pitch it because I know we are not the least expensive or the least expensive product out there. We have quality products at a great price, but what we sell is efficiencies. And that's how we get people to convert over to our systems.
That's really cool. Very aligned with exactly what we're in the business to do. So it's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Merrill, sorry, I cut you off there. Man.
No, it was just cool to see how that Easiway kind of took on the ownership of mitigating that impact on for whatever reason that anybody decides to not, go with the eco-friendlier option, automated wise, to, make less harsh chemicals to deal with for that market. That's really, really inspiring. Yeah. It's really brilliant. Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Awesome. Cool. So just in terms of like you guys' offerings, there's tons of chemistry out there, clearly, even within your own walls, right? I mean, there's how many different chemicals do you have to remove ink? Just throwing that out there.
I think we're the lowest out of all the companies out there. And I think we're still at about 12 to 15 products just to remove ink.
Dang.
So how do people know where to start with that? Like, is it just what works for me? I mean, clearly I know there's going to be a difference, water-based plastisol, different types of plastisol, different brands of plastisol, right? That's going to impact it. But is there something specifically people should be looking for? Is it tiered? Is it like, here's our best and this works across everything? Or do you have to experiment?
It is a little bit like that. Yeah. There's obviously a very premium line of chemicals. And for a reference point, like our best ink wash that we make of the ink wash segment is about 70% of its sales. And then all 11 products only make up about 30%.
Wow. Okay.
Just for a reference point in how we sell into that product versus selling the per gallon products, I'll say.
And when you automate, do you have that many choices as well, or does it kind of dwindle down into just a couple?
It totally depends on the machine and how the chemistry is applied in that machine. It depends on the
since
pump.
we're talking Lotus, let's use that as an example.
Technically, the Lotus, we could run a lot of different screen washes in it because the way it applies is not like a centrifugal pump where it comes out very violently through nozzles. It's a gentle application that uses brushes, right? Mm-hmm. So products that would tend to foam, quote unquote, a little bit, don't foam in a Lotus like that. But then you also have to deal with, does someone want to run a completely solvent or product solution, or would they like to mix it with water to try to get some more efficiencies that way? And that'll start driving you into which direction you need to go, as well as what ink set they're running. If it's a 90+% plastisol shop, we drive them this way. If it's a 100% water-based shop, you drive them this way. So all those determine where you go.
Interesting. Wow. That's really cool. Well, awesome. We'll take this moment, take another quick commercial break. And when we come back, we will talk more about how chemistry affects your screen printing business. We will be right back.
You know where you're going, and you need a vessel with a deep understanding of you and your objectives embedded into its very design. An automatic screen printing press that's built for you, your audience, your workflow, your goals. The ROQ Auto is the ideal press to match how unstoppable you are. For these and other expert solutions to help you press onward, please visit ROQ.us or call 187-ROCKET now. That's 877-674-8669.
Want to welcome everybody back to Rock Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. Today we are talking about the chemistry in screen printing. We are joined by Alex Mammoser of Easiway Systems. I have to overly pronounce your last name, by the way, because like when you look at it, you want to say it one way, but you told me how to say it at the beginning of the show, so I'm doing my best.
That's awesome.
It is a tough last name.
It's tough.
It's tough.
I've heard all kinds of stuff.
It's not tough. That's what's funny. It's tough, but not tough.
Yeah.
When you look at it, you don't think it's going to be tough, and then you say it, and it's like,
Like you think it would be harder than it is.
Yeah.
People struggle with Merrill. Like I've heard some weird things.
Merrill.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you mess that up, but whatever.
Don't get it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I have a baby girl on the way, and we named her Arabella, and getting her grandparents to go Era instead of Ara when they talk about her. Because I mean, clearly you could pronounce it both ways. It's one of those names too, though, where I think it'll end up being probably mispronounced often because I don't know how to read it. So anyway, let me get back into the intro. Alex of Easiway here is joining us. I'm ROQ US President Ross Hunter. Alongside of me today is Mr. Merrill Capps and Mr. Brian Richards of ROQ US. Let's dive back into chemistry.
Do it.
Okay, so curious to get your take on this, Alex. The age-old adage, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. What is it that most screen print shops out there who are cleaning screens, who are using chems to do it, what do they not know? And what are some of like the top tips that you would have for how to use chemicals more efficiently?
Sure. I mean, the number one thing I would say that most shops don't know would be when their screen is actually exposed and how that affects the entire process from printing. But, if you go with water-based, it's even harder. But in reclaim, underexposed screens cause havoc because when you don't fully cross-link the PVA bonds with the sensitizer and emulsion, there's nothing to snap from the emulsion remover. So you end up with gummy and stringy and sheets of emulsion falling off your screens rather than tiny little chunks or liquid coming off. Because what is literally happening in that process is the emulsion remover is breaking a chemical bond that is created by the sensitizer with light. And when that is not done right, or you did it not enough and you underexpose your screen, you end up with that stringy gummy mess.
So what I heard was don't cross the streams.
I've been in this industry, I want to say probably similar amount to you, maybe 15 or 16 years. Yeah. And I've cleaned a lot of screens that looked and felt the way that you just described. Yeah. And it wasn't until just now that I realized why that was.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, maybe like future forward invest in exposure calculator.
That's
great tool to help not do what Alex was just describing there.
Mm-hmm. Even if you don't get the full calculator, those little step tests, man, they're like $7 or $8. Just buy one and do it.
Absolutely. The step test is great. Yeah, I hated the actually full-fledged calculators.
A lot of people do.
They're complicated. Yeah, it's funny because they all actually have the step wedge on them, typically.
They do,
right? And that's all I would ever look at, even when we had the more complex ones. It's like all I cared about was that little step wedge. Yeah. How does other harsh chemicals affect that, though? So when you're going to reclaim, there's a lot of kind of things that are people don't know, right? Screen opener. That's a big one. That's
huge. And it's even worse with underexposed screens. Hot solvents and underexposed screens wreak havoc. It'll harden right up. And you'll especially see, you can really tell when someone uses screen opener because like the whole outside of the screen reclaims great, but the image area is like still solid. You're like, you almost know that someone used a screen opener or a really hot solvent on press before it got back to the screen room when that shows up.
Which is interesting. No one ever told me that. So, I've been, I owned a printing business for 11 years.
Yeah.
No one ever said that. And I tell you, man, we went through cases of screen opener. It was our best friend because it cleans so easy. It's caustic. It's horrible for you, but it was quick. But it wasn't quick because I never knew that's what was, giving such a hard time to our reclaim department is we were screwing them up before it ever even got there.
100%. And then your guy's back there with the pressure washer beating on it, sucking way more water down than he should, using way more chemistry in the back to get that mesh clean again. It's just, and he's probably having to use a harsher chemical than what you used on the floor to get that out.
Absolutely. We went through our fair share of pressure washers too. We were on kind of a 1 every 4 month cycle.
Oh yeah.
I learned a good system for that. I'm not going to share that here, but I did learn a good system for replacing those pressure washers. That's crazy.
Wow. I got some environmental questions. We touched on this earlier, but kind of to break that open a little more. Most people want to help do their part in helping the planet. Outside of what we discussed earlier, where you kind of provide less harsh chemicals for those who don't, what other ways do you suggest to minimize the environmental impact when working with these chemicals? And kind of future forward, what do you see as on the horizon for where things are going as far as making them as eco friendly as possible, as to minimize that impact?
Sure. I always think dip tanks are a huge player in that because especially we have a new tank out now where it has a drip ledge built in, so you can let even more chemical drip right back into the tank. And, with that, you end up washing quite a bit less down the drain and it stays in the tank. So you're not constantly having to use new chemistry. So you're just inherently putting less down the drain in that way. And I think what you can minimize what goes down the drain is probably the real long-term benefit. We have a whole line of chemicals that are already California compliant for the 26 AQMD districts in California that require a different set of rules out there. And you'll see a lot of that starting to come across the country. There's a few counties in Wisconsin and stuff already that are requiring some more stringent rules for what can be used. A lot of it is for the better. Some of it's, I think, a little bit lobby group politically driven because there's certain solvents and certain manufacturers that they don't want to see in there anymore. Because, when you talk about VOC exempt solvents, it's not that a lot of the stuff doesn't exist in some of this chemistry. It's just that it's exempt. So it doesn't count on the SDS. And
nature cares about that kind of thing. So that's
exactly.
Good.
So that's exactly what I'm getting at. So to me, you're way better off doing best practices and trying to minimize the footprint than anything else. That is always going to be best practices. And automation's a huge portion of that because when you have sealed systems like that, where you reduce the stuff that you're outputting, it's a massive impact.
True that.
So I have a follow-up question to Merrill's. I've taught a lot of screen printing courses over many years. And one of our number one questions, and I'd love a chemical specialist to address this. I tried to address as best I could, and I was in California, so I did a lot of teaching there, and obviously very, very, very much kind of a leader state in being as eco-conscious as possible.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people would ask, and it's kind of a multi-tiered question, but what do I do with the chemical in the dip tank when it's time to change the chemistry was one. Two, what's the best practice for my washout sink?
Yep.
And those were like two huge questions I used to get all the time. So, and I've never had a chemical expert actually answer those. I kind of went with what I thought was right. So I'm curious to see how that compares.
So the dip tank chemistry is actually drain safe in all 50 states. So there's virtually the ink and the emulsion that would be in the tank is much more worrisome than the chemistry that'll be in there, just based on a percentage of activity level. There's not actually that much activity level in those tanks when you're ready to dispose of them. So what we always tell people to do is filter everything. It's for your washout booth. It's when you're draining your dip tank, all of it. Get the solids out of it. Get your ink, your emulsions, get it all out of it. A lot of people will put it on an old cardboard t-shirt box, dry it, and then pitch it as solid waste.
Oh, interesting. That's because that was the next thing I was going to ask you. For people that don't actually have filtration systems and stuff under their washout booths, what are some kind of inventive ways to go about filtering out those particulates?
I've seen some pretty magical things out there, but I will tell you the least expensive thing to do is just go online and buy a super simple like string sock filter. They're like $3 to $4. And that is better than zero. You could literally put it to the bottom of your washout booth and then kind of put like a catch basin below that sock filter and let that go out down the drain. Just getting that solids out. One, it'll save your drain system too, because inevitably you will end up roto-rootering. If it's not 5 years from now, it'll be 15 years from now because you've let all those solids go down the drain. So just put a simple string sock filter on there.
All right. Good advice.
Before we kind of wrap this topic up, I have kind of like a fun random thing to ask you.
Sure.
How often and how many do you have like in your pocket of chemistry jokes and like puns or anything like that? Do you hear any kind of like, oh, they've got good chemistry at that shop kind of thing? Or
like never.
Never?
No, I don't have any chemistry jokes. We're definitely not cool enough for chemistry jokes.
Oh man!
I guess Merrill's going to have to start writing for the chemistry world.
I mean,
that was a good one right there. I like that.
It was good. So one for you would be
epic.
Did the chemistry workers unionize or unionize? I'm sorry. I took this in a bad place.
So bad.
But I'm totally going to
hear all of Merrill's dad jokes during the day. It's like half of them I'm just like, and then someone has to explain it to me and he gets like a, but we get to hear these in all the meetings throughout the day, are these random dad jokes or sometimes screen printing puns and things will pull out. Occasionally
do you
really
follow
good
dad jokes?
No, I just pick them up throughout.
There's a whole Instagram that's dad jokes and a whole like TikTok that's dad jokes. Oh yeah, they have their own channel and it's a whole group.
Oh wow!
Oh look, he's writing this down right now. This is good. Thank you, Alex, for adding to our meetings and the crazy jokes that are going to ensue from that piece of advice there. That's good. So kind of to wrap this up, how do people get in touch with you, get in touch with Easiway, find you guys?
Sure.
You guys have social followings, websites, all that kind of good stuff.
Simple. It's at Easiway for Instagram, Easiway Systems on Facebook, and you can contact us at easyway.com.
Cool. And just, I guess, a final thought here for those people that are listening. Having a partnership, and we're obviously an equipment manufacturer and distributor, and having a partnership like this is huge. Can you tell us just a little bit, just final thought to those listening about, when someone comes here, they buy a Lotus, we contact you guys. What does that look like? So they get an idea of what that is.
Yeah. When you guys sell a Lotus, we send our chemistry to set that Lotus up with, and we generally try to have someone on site to help with the install. Cause without, we don't expect you to be the chemistry experts. That's what we are. Right. And you guys are the machine experts in that regard. So, without both of us working together, you're not going to have a successful install. So we always try to work together on those installations to make sure it's successful for the customer.
And how much does that cost people to have Easiway come out and help with that?
Zero. You just got to buy our chemistry.
That is the coolest thing. I had to get to that punchline, because I will tell people out there, automating anything, even changing chemistry, changing your ink manufacturer, those people out there that have been screen printing for a long time, it's daunting. I remember just changing ink, and it was an uphill battle, and it was something we had to do for specific reasons. And it's tough. And when you get a company that's really wanting to partner with you, like Easiway and Alex is describing here, that's willing to come out, fly their team, meet your team, be a part of, your success and ensuring that's there. I mean, it's so priceless, because it is hard to figure that out on your own, especially when you're getting started for the first time in automation. It's like, let me dump a bunch of chemicals in here. And what's funny is those ratios are so important. Right. Of getting it right. Otherwise, it's not going to do, you can actually put too much chemical in there and then not have your reclamation process go correct. I mean, absolutely, there's a very good balance in that pH of water to chemistry and everything.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to create a community here, right? And that's really what it boils down to. If we can all collectively work together, well, every one of us will end up for the better.
Absolutely. That's a great point, man. I've shared that in a lot of different events and stuff. It's a $6.8 billion a year industry in the US alone. That's that's not a COVID statistic, so don't quote me on where we're at right now. I will tell you though, let me finish that thought. So there's a piece of pie for everyone. I mean, it's definitely about sharing knowledge, helping each other out so everyone wins. And I did get the opportunity yesterday to sit with a whole panel of very, very, very smart economists that are looking at the future. And apparel is one of those places that is poised to bounce back like wildfire this year. So it was really exciting to kind of see, all industries, in fact, are looking, this year is looking pretty prime for people. I think that, with the news of the vaccine, with kind of the stimulus packages going out right now, there's a lot of excitement happening in the economy, and all of our printers out there, get ready, because I know from our community of ROQ printers, I mean, people are getting hit with orders left and right. We've seen tremendous growth through the last quarter of last year into this year. So it's exciting. Well, Alex, we appreciate you having you on here. Check out Easiway for those of you that are listening. If you're interested in Lotus Holland, go to ROQ.us, go to the Lotus page, fill out a forum. We'd be happy to talk to you about it. We've got some cool stuff going on with Easiway with the chemistry, help you out there, get one of their people on site at your install to help you get up and going and saving money and saving your lungs and prolonging your life and making your team's experience cleaning screens a whole heck of a lot more pleasant than standing at a booth spraying chemical or even using a dip tank, which at least is a step up from that. So,
and your staff will have a much better reaction than my bad chemistry joke.
See, that was a good one.
That was good.
There we go.
Okay, I had to redeem myself. Okay, as you were.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all of you listening. Continue to press onward and rock on.
Peace.
Huge thanks to Alex Mammoser for joining us today. As always, thank you for spending time with us this week. Tune in at your convenience wherever you listen to your podcast by searching ROQ Shop Talk. Our next episode will discuss working on your business while working in your business. If you'd like to request to be on the show, please visit ROQ.us/ROQ Shop Talk. If you found today's episode helpful, please recommend it to a friend who you think may find it helpful as well. Please like, share, and subscribe on social media. Until next time, rockers, press onward.